Welcome to this season's first session of Spoken and Heard. My name is Lacey Davis, and I want to welcome you all on behalf of the Dairy Barn. The Dairy Barn Art Center is located in Athens, Ohio, and is a regional nonprofit arts center specializing in visual arts exhibitions and arts education for adults and youth. And now I would like to introduce our host for the evening, Ohio Poet Laureate Carrie Gunther Seymour. And Carrie Gunther Seymour focuses on uplifting underrepresented voices, including incarcerated adults and women in recovery. Her collection, Alone in the House of My Heart, was selected 2023 Best Book Award from American Book Fest and was a finalist for the National Indie Excellence Award. She is an artist in residence for the Writing the Land Project, a Pillar of Prosperity Fellow for the Foundation for Appalachia, Ohio, and the founder and executive director of the Women of Appalachia Project, and the editor of its anthology series, Women Speaks. Her work has been featured on Verse Daily, Poem of the Week, World Literature Today, the New York Times, and Poem a Day. Please join me in welcoming Carrie Gunther Seymour.
Hi, Lacey. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here. Hi, everyone. Well, first of all, I want to welcome our audience, of course, for joining us here tonight. And I want to also welcome those who'll be streaming us later on Facebook and YouTube. We really appreciate you being here with us this evening. I want to thank Lacey and all the good folks behind the scenes at the Dairy Barn Arts Center for hosting us. Ironically, Spoken and Heard got its start at the barn in 2017. My very first guest was Maggie Smith. And we have grown and blossomed, and here we all are these many years later. So many wonderful voices have been raised. So tonight is a homecoming in so many ways, and I'm so excited. We're coming home to the barn and gathering once again with poets from all over the country. And this evening's performance is the 17th in a series of readings presented from this wonderful book. And we have all traveled all over Ohio and beyond to spread the good word about Ohio, Appalachia. So I need to take a moment to quickly thank the Academy of American Poets and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation for taking a chance on me and my dream by selecting my fellowship proposal. I wanted to create an anthology focused specifically on Ohio's Appalachian population, something that had never been done before. So my next thank you is a huge one, and it's going out to the Foundation for Appalachian Ohio, because along with the Academy of American Poets, FAO provided funds to help provide a copy of the anthology to every public library in Ohio and to every Appalachian Ohio middle school and high school. So with their generous support, this has allowed literally thousands of readers, young adults included, to have free access to this important book. So another huge thank you goes out to the Ohio Arts Council for sponsoring the 2024 season of Spoken and Heard. And we are also proud of the OAC for all their accomplishments around our state. It's really a marvelous organization. So last but not least, I want to thank all of these wonderful poets. We have 18 poets here this evening. There are 134 poets included in the entire anthology. It's a lavish mix. We have Affrilachian, we have Indigenous, we have non-binary, we have LGBTQ, we have teens to creatively aging, we have poets in recovery, we have some who are differently abled or with developmental differences. We have emerging poets and well-established poets. We have some who live in the state and many tonight who are from assorted locations throughout the country, and all of them with a deep connection to Appalachian Ohio. You see, some people forget, and some don't even know that a quarter of the state of Ohio rests inside Appalachia proper, and pockets of Appalachian communities exist all over the state, still deeply tied to their Appalachian roots. And in September of 2023, Cardinal Singh won the Best Book Award for an anthology from the American Book Festival, and we were all so very proud. So I invite you to please sit back and relax and enjoy this stellar lineup of amazing Appalachian Ohio-based poets reading selections from our award-winning collection, I Thought I Heard a Cardinal Sing, Ohio's Appalachian Voices.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Burroughs of Cleveland. I was recently a Beat Poet Laureate, and I was born in Richwood, West Virginia, but raised here in Northern Ohio after my father decided he wanted to work somewhere a little more safe than in a coal mine or doing another tour in Vietnam. This poem is entitled My, Me, Mine. I'm going inside, hoping to be a lantern, not a canary. And my second poem is entitled Come Pass. East and mesh collide. Whoa, east and west collide and mesh in ways no mechanical device can measure. There is no true north or south here, only our spiraling toward what is and seems meant to be. Heart needles spin like clock hands, but swifter and less certain. I take my direction from you. Thank you all.
Thank you, John. Hey, I'm Roy Bentley. My connection to Appalachia is my folks were Eastern Kentucky, Letcher County, and all my people are from down there in Virginia, and then a bunch of us live up here because they didn't want to starve to death in the 50s, and that's how it was. Poem I'm going to read tonight has to do with the first time Dad took us on a vacation. It was actually the first and last time. It's called Bright Lights and Country Music, title from a Bill Anderson song. In 1965, I'm 11 and listening to a transoceanic zenith radio. Bill Anderson is singing like country music is God's voice, nothing more, nothing less. I'm a lanky kid lying in bed beside his father, who is smoking a cigarette in a t-shirt and pajama bottoms. A father who favors a music with twang, since we're hillbillies. They're on the mend, my mother and him, having been divorced for some time. Tonight he's visiting from the town I will soon finish growing up in, grow old in. He wants me to say yes to the move, but he's talking, dragging us to live with strangers. We're listening to the Opry, and he says Gene Howard, his uncle, bought a floor model Zenith for the house he was raised in after his mother was institutionalized. He describes them listening on Saturday nights, 6:50 a.m. WSM out of Nashville. After he says the word sanitarium, he turns off the light. The dial of the transoceanic glows like a lit cigarette, like the one burning in his hand in shared darkness. Thanks. Appreciate it. How do I turn my mic off?
Hi, I'm Donna Hilbert, and I live in Long Beach, California. I was born in Oklahoma. My connection through to Appalachia is through my grandmother, who I didn't realize she was Appalachian until I read Carrie's wonderful book, A Place So Deep Inside of America It Can't Be Seen. And then I realized, my gosh, I'm Appalachian too. And so here's my poem, Mother Tongue, for my grandmother, Appalachian born and raised. My mother tongue unrolls along the red dirt plain, slow, tacky, unfolding like the dream that catches everything. My red mother tongue unrolls in rows of cotton, alfalfa, fields of wheat, and in the green water of the silty river. And in the backyard on a summer's night, in grass thick with chiggers, red ants, stickers, my slick mother tongue switches legs for talking ugly, pitching a fit, throwing a hissy. My slick, red, sticky mother tongue can lick any little pistol and keeps the ring-tailed tutors towing the line.
Thank you, Donna. It's beautiful. I'm Laura Weldon. I live in northeastern Ohio on a little farm, but my father's people are from Belmont County. That's my connection to Appalachia. I have two short pieces in that beautiful book. The first one is called Common Ground. What's incomplete in me seeks refuge in blackberry bramble and beech trees, where creatures live without dogma and water moves in patterns more ancient than philosophy. I stand still, child eavesdropping on her elders. I don't speak the language, but my body translates best it can, wakening skin and gut, summoning the long kinship we share with everything. The second poem is The First Cool Day of September. Creekside lush with purple ironweed, fluff-wrapped cattails, Queen Anne's lace, fairy skirts. Please don't sigh when I pick another bushel of warm red tomatoes, seeing only the work ahead to preserve them. Please don't bring up political storms when trees brim with birdsong and vines hang heavy with grapes. Come with me to wonder at this spiderweb, that fungus. Let yourself feel the fizz of gratitude. This is the lintel across a door marked peace. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Hi, my name is Lynette Ford, but you can call me Lynn. I was born in Appalachian, Pennsylvania, Mercer County. I spent my summers as a child through a teenager in Columbiana County, Ohio, with my great-grandparents in East Liverpool, Appalachian, Ohio. I have two poems in our wonderful book. The first that I'll read is titled Call. That call, that lusty call, then a blaze of red streaking from the ruddy barberry to the silver maple, like a shred of burning cloth rising against the foggy blanket of dawn. That call, that search for one another, that proclamation, here, 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 right here, right here. Then the response, right here, right here, pretty, pretty, pretty. And the gray morning becomes beautiful. Awake, alive, passionately coupled, life to life, the cardinals commit to one another, to living this new day. I hear the call as the sky begins to burn. Here, right here. I am right here. This moment is pretty, pretty, pretty. My second poem is called Granny Knew. Granny read the leaves, the soil, the sky, like tarot cards, like gazing glass, read aches and sorrows like rune stones and bones. Granny read the Bible, even though she kept every word in her head, knew which verse to breathe over a sickly child or a dying man, knew the old ways to soothe, to heal, to sing a soul up to glory. Granny knew when the dry days would end, even as the earth pleaded for salvation, knew when storms would rage with Lord Jesus' might, with lightning white and wild, with thunder to pound against a metal sky, all foretold in a bloody sunrise. Stay here in the cellar, she calmly said, just before the neighbor's roof screamed and flew away on a spiraling wind. Granny smelled impending death on a friend's breath. She hugged him gently. Same day, with her dark fingers hovering over a new bride's flat belly, she sensed a baby growing. She foretold his sex with a rock tied to a string. She was right. One died in a few weeks. In a few months, a man-child was born. Granny told me she heard a screech owl call 3 times. That night, she died. An owl outside her bedroom window. It rose on wings like a tempest rising, carrying a last sweet breath to the heavens, a last word exhaled in reconciling prayer. Sometimes she watches me now, I think, a rust-red bird, chattering Bible verses, nodding approval as I listen to a still blue sky and watch the leaves curling to catch the promised rain. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Marie Minnie. I'm a 7th generation Appalachian by way of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Eastern Ohio. I was born in Parkersburg, West Virginia. When I was 15, we moved to Cadiz, Ohio, and I currently live in Talmadge, Ohio. My poem in the anthology is called Rainbow on the Bathroom Rug, Akron Pride. I've lived a whole lifetime as someone I wasn't, wandering through gender-sensitive backcountry, from the hills and hollers of West Virginia, the grasslands and cornfields of Ohio, through Stonewall and Pulse, making it to Akron, like my Appalachian kinfolk during the great exodus north on the Hillbilly Highway, looking for a better life in the rubber factories of Goodyear, Goodrich, Firestone. I was searching for something too, not knowing what it was. The rainbow appeared suddenly, the afternoon sun's reflection on the bathroom rug, a sign that I had chased the rainbow logic, revealing myself on the other side, more treasured than any pot of leprechaun gold. Coming together for one day, celebrating our diversity, letting the world know we have survived another year. We are still here. We are not going away. A chance to rejoice in my own uniqueness. A chance to cry. A sacred experience like a dream sequence, fading in a misty haze. The crowd cheering for the choices I have made. I may have wandered through a lifetime as someone I wasn't. Now, in whatever time I have left, I'm home. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this amazing anthology.
I'm Susan Odell Underwood. I'm from East Tennessee and lived here most of my life, but I married an Ohio boy a long time ago now. But it took me years to realize my mother-in-law is from Appalachian, Ohio, and that's what this poem is about that's in the anthology. It's called Etiquette. In Cambridge, I didn't know where to set the etched glassware, which silver fork was for salad and which for Christmas pie, or that there was an extra spoon for coffee. That first married holiday, I was terrified I'd break my mother-in-law's family china. I felt I seemed to her as backward as I was young. Those Ohio hills didn't impress me then as kin to the Tennessee hills I came from. Decades later, at her 80th birthday, I led the surprises. I situated the tiara on her head, served cake, loved everyone she'd given birth to, took my place in the huge family photo at the top of the hill. She and I had dwelt in curves that always seemed to want to wreck and mangle more than merge. We climbed together for the view of funerals and weddings and birthdays all behind us, all the foregone days and shafts of light like a shattering kaleidoscope until at some point the gleaming bits fell into focus. At that reunion, I came to see myself the way she did. A woman she called daughter, transformed into a pearl around the bitter grain of feeling other, yokel, simple, hick, unworthy. I'd sensed I was those years before. After cake through nostalgic neighborhoods, my mother-in-law wanted to see one last time her childhood home, the one her father built with his own hands, in the thick of town wound spiraling into heights. I teased her then that I'd never known before that she was a hillbilly too. For a second, I thought I'd overstepped until she nodded and laughed with that wary dignity of a working class daughter. She looked me in the eye as one of her own and told me that's what others had called her when she'd moved to Columbus as a newlywed. Spectacular china, packed in boxes, still unchipped then, every piece whole, with its perfect silver rim, with something to prove. Thank you. I love being in this. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this wonderful group. My connection to Ohio is that I attended college in Granville, Ohio, Denison University, and I had various relatives who left Eastern Kentucky to go to Ohio for better paying jobs shortly after the war, in those years of jobs abundant in Ohio. I grew up, I was born in West Virginia, grew up for a while in Eastern Kentucky, and then my father came to Tennessee, and I'm in Loudoun County, Tennessee, having grown up in Oak Ridge, a product of all the work that went on there during the war. The poem I'm going to read is entitled The Worker's Story. And though you're not looking at it, it is shaped like a sonnet, but a very much unrhymed or slant rhyme sonnet. The Worker's Story. 1 a.m. and I've just come off the evening shift. Everyone I know asleep in bed, except my working companions. Steam rises behind us as we board the bus back to town. The plant a giant that seems still only from the outside. Cauldrons and motors rumbling and roaring, the eternal processes running around the clock. Other men and women there now to keep the beast breathing. I'm off to bed. Will crawl in beside my wife, the feel of her hip against mine, what is left of those years when desire drove us like pistons, our young daughters asleep in the next room, the house a universe unto itself, rising and falling through the long night, while the Milky Way lays its road across the heavens. Thank you very much.
Beautiful, everyone. Hi, I'm Patricia Thrushhart, and I'm an Appalachian transplant. I moved to what turned out to be the Paris of Appalachia, Pittsburgh, when I was 14. Didn't even realize that's where I was until I lived a few good years. My poem in the anthology is based on a letter that was written by William Hayward in 1858 to William Lloyd Garrison, and it celebrates Ohio's history as it relates to abolitionism and the Underground Railroad. It's called Sojourner Truth. We should keep things going while things are stirring. I am the truth speaker come to Ohio, pleading the plight of woman, the plight of the slave. I am God called. Truth is powerful, and it prevails. You accuse me of being a man, betrayed by strength and height and eloquence, and want proof of my womanhood. I will shake every place I go to. Here are the black breasts that suckled many a white baby who grew more manly than you, while my own lay hungry. Look now to your lasting shame and my everlasting resolve. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lemaster. My connection with Appalachia is I live in northeastern Kentucky, 5 miles from the Portsmouth, Ohio border, and I work in Ohio at the medical center over there. This one's called Toll Takers, 1972. From the road, you could no longer see the hut where the old men stayed when there was nothing to do. No more cars would pull up slow to the lowered gate. No one waited to press the small tan and red ticket into a willing, withered palm, just to gain entrance to the tall, steel-framed bridge that spanned the Ohio. They would dress in their white tee and suspenders, wreathed in thick gray smoke from their black bowled pipes, chatting about rainbow trout biting upriver, the steady growth of their grandchildren, and modernization, a time when they would be no longer useful, a time when bridges would be free access and patrons could come and grow as they pleased. I can see them laughing at its absurdity, some spitting tobacco juice into a spittoon on the floor next to them, others clutching their pipes for dear life, like holding the past in their bare hands. Thank you.
Hello, I am Dick Westheimer. I would consider myself a newcomer to Appalachia, having moved to rural Claremont County, Ohio, just 48 years ago. And as long as I acknowledge that I am not a native here, people make me feel welcome, including the wonderful sort of like hospitality that Carrie showed when I asked her if I qualified to be in the journal. It was like my debutante party. Raised 5 kids here. If you do have a book, my poem's on page 193, and unlike Laura's poem, it's hers called Common Ground. Mine is called Uncommon Ground. 1. Bobby pulled back the tarp, revealed the bloodless head, the rack intact of the buck he felled with one clean shot. For 30 days of autumn dawns, he'd sat strapped to the stand, high up in the old sycamore, his back to the creek, his eyes on the edge where the scrub wood becomes field. With his hands, which were numbed with the waiting, he held the longbow nocked, ready to loose a shaft into the darkest part of the 12-pointer he'd spied for weeks from too far away until today. 2. Once at dusk, not long ago, Bobby missed the heart of what must have been the king of our small wood, a mighty one who did not drop when shot, who bolted through the undergrowth, arrow shafting from his side, vanished as if in an apparition in the failing night, dripped a trail of liquid rubies, spots of blood on fallen leaves. Bobby scrambled from his stand, tracked the tortured prey, longed to make his kill complete, to relieve the creature of its suffering. But right as last light, rain began to fall, washed away the red stains, rendered the trail mute. Bobby wept the tears of Tantalus, blundered into the dark, heaving hopeless breaths, much like the stumbling buck. 3. Bobby showed me his new hardware, camo-clad night scopes slotted atop his AR. He ran his hand from barrel to stock, eyed the sight, said to me, "I'll take out that coyote tonight, the one that stared you down the other day." I am grateful, though I know this man who loves the sun rising over our creek, stills his breath to match the windless dawns, hears the morning whisper, "Amen." This man who hauls in his saw to take out deadfalls from our trails, helps whenever he can, calls our place Eden. Yes, this man of Saxon build flies the yellow flag. On it, a coiled snake that hisses, "Don't you effing tread on me." So I am afraid that late at night, he is sure the news is fake, believes there are elites out to replace his kind, maybe suspects I am one of those he is wary of. Thank y'all.
You know, sometimes you get a poem published and it's nice to see it in print. Other times you feel like you're like you become part of a movement or something, and that's just really special. So thank you. I'm Erica Reed. I'm actually going to read my bio from the book because it's my favorite I've ever gotten to write. I was born and raised in suburbs around Cincinnati, Ohio, but grew up hearing stories about my grandfather's Appalachian childhood in Harlan, Kentucky, where wild turkeys would chase him along his walk home from school. I currently live in Colorado, but my heart and much of my writing remains in Ohio and Kentucky. And that's just so true. There's so much more Ohio in my poems now than even when I lived there. So I have 2 poems in this beautiful book. I'm just going to read one of them tonight. They're on 172 and 173 if you'd like to revisit them later. But I'm going to read a poem that I just learned is being taught in a poetry class. This place does not care if I am happy. This ruby-throated world is not for me. Not mine, this jack pine tar, this chunky sunlight. Not mine, the eggs or weeds or garter snakes. This limping yellow willow is not for me, nor is the wrinkled willow that the lake makes. These thrushes will still be here when I go. Maybe not this robin, and maybe not these reeds, but some robin and some reeds will be here when I go. Some or another maple, some lightning bent bough, some summer sick magnolia will be here when I go. This place has never cared if I am happy. The fungus does not care, the fox does not care. The deer looked as though, for just a moment, but no, this place does not care if I am happy. And I am. Thank you, I am. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Johnny McIntyre, and I am in Toledo, Ohio, but I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I love that you said it's the Paris of Appalachia. I like to think that Toledo was the Barcelona of the Rust Belt. So, but I would say that my connections, my roots don't necessarily run deep, but they run very wide. So, Athens, Ohio was the college town that I almost moved to. So when the pandemic happened and suddenly the world got small, but also really wide at the same time, I found that I had so many connections that were in Appalachian Ohio with artists and across the state that kindred spirits all over, and so it's very meaningful to be a part of this book. I have two poems in here, and the first one is Our Love is a Backyard Rose Bush. When we moved in, the rose bush was already here, a tall, frail thing at the very back, a fence-line peacemaker with the neighbors. Most years it barely put out a single bloom. Japanese beetles made lace of its leaves. Aphids scarred the tender peachy petals. The kids with their dodgeballs, softballs, frisbees snapped it so often we doubted it could survive. Through the years you were out of work. When we lost the baby, then your father, my grandfather, when we almost gave up on everything. Through the gracious training of stray dogs who were also drawn to the rose bush, a perfect place to piss. Until now, 20 years later, a summer full of one gorgeous bloom after another, slowing into September, even as the petals start to drop, they smell so fragrant, so very sweet. And then the second poem is really not just for Athens, but all of the college towns that are in Appalachia, which have a special kind of economic backdrop, right? It's called Blue Light. She wasn't always good with the locks. Said she had to call one of the drivers to help unload the boxes from the truck. This was my first day, first job back home for summer from university. Kmart, just to pick up hours. It was a hook lock on a pivot. Pull this back, flip that here, and you could use a thick strap to throw the door up and open. She'd already shown me how to fuss over the toiletries and paper goods, to spin everything forward, label out. Customers like it pretty. As assistant manager, she got $1 more and had waited 5 years to get there. By the time we got to the truck, I already knew about her kids, how the old manager kept stealing and no one believed her until he got caught on tape. And now that extra $1 sure makes layaway easier because she's already saving it. Didn't tell a soul, paying cash for that PlayStation for Christmas. As I worked the lock on yet another truck, she stood back and studied me. Said, damn, don't doors just fly open for you? And sure as shit, they all did. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Denton Loving. I live in Speedwell, Tennessee, which is near Cumberland Gap, but my dad is from Harlan County, Kentucky. And although he wound up coming south, all of his siblings went north to Ohio. So I have that familial connection. A lot of my other connection to Appalachia, Ohio, is as a editor and publisher. I work with Eastover Press, and our newest title is Carrie's book, Dirt Songs, which just came out last week. It's a beautiful book that we're really proud of, and I hope you all will all take a look at it. I have two poems. Thank you very much for including them in the anthology, Carrie. I'm going to read, first of all, Girl in the Woods. Before the earth became her bed, she raked away the rubble and rocks, scraped the soil smooth. There are no candy men here, no dope peddlers, no pill pushers, no one to hand out 40s and 80s, those perfect stones with their false promise to cut her pain with their fuzz and blur, the way they do at her apartment in the projects, a home more makeshift than her nylon tent with its walls stretched taut, its strings staked between oak roots. In this quiet, she sketches her children's faces with charcoal, applying skills she's learning in community college, art classes. She outlines their curved cheeks, their almond-shaped eyes, uses long sweeping strokes for her daughter's hair, a softer mark for the scar on her son's chin. Dark comes early beneath the trees. Without the luxury of electric light, she's learning how to smudge charcoal, how to block in the mid-tones by battery-powered lantern, a small sacrifice for this shelter of trees when she most misses her kids, when her brain won't stop buzzing. Do you hear the cicadas? And how about that whippoorwill? I hear him late into night, nearly 4 decades gone from these wooded foothills, but returned to sound his warrior song. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill, turf warning, as well as mating call, a blast that rips through my sleep some nights and leaves me to lie awake and wonder about choices I've made. And I wonder why the whippoorwill was so long silent. Probably too much pesticide, not enough moths and beetles, all the too usual things, all the too usual reasons. What makes him think things will be different this time? What calls him back? What sustains this small nightjar's blind bravery? Thank you very much.
Hey y'all, my name is Jessica Corey and I come to you right now from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, which is Wilkes County is the easternmost Appalachian county in North Carolina. My connection to Appalachian, Ohio is that I was born and raised there. So I'm from Ross County. My dad's people have been there since the 1700s. Most of them, I'd say about 99% still live in the area, Gallipolis, Frankfort, Chillicothe. My grandmother was born in West Virginia, has deep roots in Ironton. So really from that region. And then in 2008, I moved to Athens, Ohio, and actually worked next door to the dairy barn at the Mental Health Respite Center. So 2010, I moved down here and been in North Carolina ever since. And this poem is called The Mighty Ohio. 1, the coal, it sinks to the catfish mouths, shovel and shut, spooning in rocks and sticks and A-plant runoff. 2, the barge's twisted steel would sell well at the Circleville scrapyards, but would have to be salvaged first. My sister took a selfie, her shadow lurking like a ghost on the murky river surface, a somber small reflection painted in oil and gas. My parents warned us not to wade in. I asked if fish would gobble up my toes like the 6-footers caught in Paint Creek. 3, Dad chuckled. There aren't any fish in here, Jess. He used to fix tracks for the CNO, drove heavy equipment across the river's bridge spans, recalls barges on fire and smoke like the Cuyahoga up north. 4, but the EPA made it A-OK, the local newspapers say. And coal keeps the lights on, as the slogan goes, so nobody cares what enters catfish holes. Thank you.
All right, can everybody hear me? Cool. Hello, everyone. It's amazing poetry. Thank you for having me along and in this collection. And it's wonderful hearing everybody read. There's a lot of voices I haven't heard tonight, and it's awesome. My family's from Southern Ohio, West Virginia, and Northern Virginia. We lived in West Virginia for a while before we moved out into BFE, Ohio. Round not a whole lot. And a lot of summers were spent traveling back south. I still, you know, enjoy going camping and getting back out there when I can. This is called Return to Earth, and it's just a poem about it's up in Pigeon Forge. If you keep walking past the tourist traps, you'll hit all the awesome, like, you can get lost. That's cool. All right. Return to Earth. Ahead of work-roughened municipal trucks unloading dirt and gravel along Cherokee Orchard Road, beyond the flapjack huts, themed mini golf resorts, and green mowed grass, each an oasis among trees and concrete. Beyond straight roads in Dollywood, aging schools, gas stations, bars, and signs. The signs for advertisers, signs of activities, signs of evenings giving way to morning, beyond the bustle and up LeConte. Beyond the falls where the tourists slow from a stream to a trickle, up the steadily sharpening slope, slick scarps stretching in both directions, the path increasingly less a suggestion over time. In February, the air cold and thin, where Bullhead Trail meets Rainbow Falls, that's where I died for the first time. That's where I returned to Earth, close to a mile above sea level. The squirrels waved. Glad you could finally join us, they say, prancing around red spruce blanketed in snow. I could hear the silence and taste the undercurrents of the soil as sure as dipping my hand in the stream. There, my death had no meaning, stretching up and over the cabins on LeConte's Peak and down the other side over the Alum Bluffs, dissipating among its coyotes and hibernating bears. And when I was brought to, stitched together with the care and grace of a blind valley fae, the grease-dipped vines holding my innards in and the fireflies in my rib cage, fascinating but devilishly ticklish, I head home and I learn self-control in traffic. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I can barely manage to even think straight. What an amazing evening, you all. Well, my connection to Appalachian, Ohio is 9 generations ago. John Gunter III and his wife Johanna got on a boat and came to America. And they settled in Henrico County in Virginia. And from there, these are my father's people. They moved into North Carolina, South Carolina, then into Tennessee, and then into Ohio. So I'm a 3rd generation Athens County, Ohio person, but 9 generations in Appalachia. And I'm going to read one of my poems tonight and then one of one other person's. And this one's called To No One in Particular. I am never happy to see summer go, earth stripped of its finest voice. I'm sitting outside in my heavy coat, porch light off. There is a full-on moon. No ambient distractions, the sky, a Zion. I take solace in considering the age of this valley, the way water left its mark on Appalachia long before Peabody sunk a shaft, Chevron augured the shale, or ODOT dynamited roadways through steep rock. I grew up in a house where canned fruit cocktail was considered a treat. My sister and I fought over who got to eat the fake cherries. Standouts in the can, though tasting like every other tired piece of fruit floating in the heavy syrup. But it was store-bought, like city folks, and we were too gullible to understand the corruption in the concept. Our mother's home-canned harvests, superior in every way. I cringe when I think of how we shamed her. So much here depends upon a green corn stalk, a patched barn roof, weather, the Lord, community. We've rarely been offered a hand that didn't destroy. Inside the house, the light bulb comes on when the refrigerator door is opened. My husband rummages a snack, plops beside me on the porch to wolf it down, leans back, plants a kiss, says to no one in particular, a person could spend a lifetime under a sky such as this. And that's what we've done. We've spent a lifetime, 2 or 3. And the other poem I'd like to share is by a poet named Susan Shepherd, who we lost way too early. Marvelous poet, residing in West Virginia. This is the bio she gave us. Susan Shepherd was a native West Virginian of Lenni Lenape, Delaware, Shawnee and European ancestry, and descended from some of West Virginia's earliest settlers. She was much beloved by her daughter Scarlett and her Ohio friends across the river, with whom she traveled, workshopped poems, and shared her extraordinary spiritual experiences. And this is her poem. And it's titled, The Indians on the Hill. Once my grandmother and her sister overheard a clerk in a small town dress shop whisper to the other, "Don't wait on them. They look like Dagos." Ashamed, the 2 of them quickly left. They did not know what Dago meant, but they knew it must mean something bad. Years later, high on a hill, earth gave way to buffeting winds, shook the mulberry trees into fists. I dream walked in skin slippers over rib cages of ancestors, inside the world's drum, with faces broad as clay pots, as skeins of clouds layered back into the breath of woods. Below me, in a tin can house, another Saponi grandmother sat under green awning, face dark as a chestnut, apron pinned to her dress, wearing men's shoes. The grandmother clutched her cane between her knees. We stared. I crouched at the edge of her garden. I was 5, with umber wing of hair over my eye, face smeared with the war paint of pokeberries. She gazed through milky cataracts as I grabbed dirt loose as soap powders, then flung it where crows argued with jays. Grandmother said nothing. Lost in the purple cabbages, the glint of pie plates sent out codes in the wasting sun. There was nothing for me to do but go home. Later, red spirits multiplied into the evening. I felt them through my hair, glimpsed their spirits weaving through trees, bloody and painted. I see my Lenni Lenape great-grandmother wringing cloth, rinsing moons of fingernails of sienna-skinned hands in creek water, only to be shooed away later in the Trans-Allegheny lunatic asylum to die alone. We never found her grave, but fell into her ways of drying out gourds for seed rattles hung like otter skulls from a rope. Through the smell of dying fields, I ran into the arms of my grandfather, who quieted the evening into dreams. That night, we found crow feathers left on the stone walk like obsidian blades on the way to the toilet, and those eyeless pelts of fox stretched over the outhouse door. Grandma stayed inside to stitch together cast-off rags into wondrous designs. Grandma and her sister never went back to that store. And I wanted to honor Susan tonight. We miss her. And I don't want we in Ohio, of all places, to forget and to acknowledge the Shawnee, the Delaware, and the Adena, for it's their land that we are living on. So thank you all tonight so much for being with me. Those of you who shared your work and those of you attending and those who will watch later. I would like to mention that you can buy the anthology. If you go to my website, it's carriegunterseymourpoet.com. Or if you go to sheilanagig.com, and you can find access to buy the anthology on both of those websites. Again, I want to thank my wonderful poets tonight. I'm just breathless from the work. It was just stunning and outstanding. I want to thank the Dairy Barn for their generous time tonight in providing this space and the marketing and all the beautiful artwork they created so that we could let you all know what we were doing tonight. Please think about buying a copy of our book, and please think about engaging our poets in other activities and readings that you're going to be holding in the future. So again, I thank you all, and I'm going to say good evening. And y'all look for the cardinals. They'll be getting pretty happy here now that spring's starting to break free in Ohio. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.